Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to Coach's Corner. I do not have questions. Matt is not with us. Wait, why is Matt not here?
He got a tooth extracted.
Okay, there we go. So it is Steve, Tim, and I first. Everyone give a huge congrats to Steve and his wife Nina for being preggies again.
Thank you.
Yay!
Okay. You guys have questions. I don't, so go ahead.
You want to hop right? We'll do Bernard's. Bernard sent a couple of really good questions. But I guess we'll start with definitive definition for conditioning as it relates to bodybuilding specifically. Or is it just kind of an ambiguous thing?
Wait, I
Wait,
was
read that
listening.
again?
Yes.
There's a lot of big words.
Like a definitive definition for conditioning within bodybuilding, or is it more ambiguous?
So,
You guys know what ambiguous means?
yes. Not
Yeah,
specific.
but I just
Not
what's he
definitive.
ask? Yeah, not the yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
So what's he
like
asking?
more not objective, subjective. So like is there definitive like definition, or like can we quantify conditioning, or is it more open to interpretation?
I think it's more open to
Yeah,
interpretation. I'm gonna just say that.
100%.
But like you guys want to expand on that in any way in
So-
terms of like why would it be open to interpretation if it's a
So-
criteria of judging?
For example, you'll see probably the best way I can explain it, right? Is okay, so you see two different physiques. You see one guy who has more bubbly muscle, thicker skin, where you can see they're in good shape, but they just have like that the bubble genetics. You know what I mean? Whereas like their
You're
glutes
talking
might
about black guys. You're talking about black guys.
no. So like no. So like Austin Connolly, Matt Jensen
yes,
coach.
yeah. He's a good. He's like
perfect example.
Yeah.
He's not like inside out peel. He doesn't have that paper thin skin, like all the obliques like that look like they're about to rip if you get a paper cut. But he has great condition. His glutes are a little on the softer side. He doesn't have deep quad lines, but still good condition for that genetic makeup, but very round. Versus, I don't know, you could take my skin, for example. I might not be as bubbly, but when I get shredded, I have like paper skin, like that translucent look, where like if I got my skin so thin, there's like two different looks where conditioning could be good on both. You know what I mean? But
one does look drier and more gnarlier conditioned,
yes,
like a Hottie at the Arnold,
yes,
which is what
he
you
has
asked about.
thinner skin. You
Like
can see it.
Hottie, right? Versus Samson, who's got that little bit more of a thicker. Samson's almost like a kind of in betweenish.
You can even
where
say
you can tell he's
Lunsford.
got that thicker skin. Well,
Lunsford
yeah,
doesn't
like
have paper thin skin like
Right.
Hottie, but
Right.
he's much
100%.
bubblier, but it's still in great condition.
yeah.
But it looks a little softer. So I think you quantify conditioning based off genetics. I mean, because everybody's different. It's skin texture,
I also
thinness.
I also think, and we're talking about, I guess he's talking about the Arnold too, which I guess in and of itself poses like more specifics. But I think when you're looking at from like an amateur level too, like you have to remember there's a lot that like needs to be said about the lineup itself. You know what I mean? Like who's in the lineup, who are we judging against? Because at the end of the day, it's got to be the total package. So we can sit here and we can talk about one individual kind of like statistic, if you would, or one individual trait or whatever quality, whatever you want to call it about a competitor.
Yep.
But just because somebody's more conditioned than somebody else, right, doesn't necessarily mean that they're the better. I know people all the time are like conditioning wins shows, conditioning. And it's like, it's true. If you come in out of shape, you're probably not going to get the looks that you want. But at the end of the day, if you have a guy that's got a ton of muscularity, that's got a beautiful, structure, perfect symmetry, a tiny little waist, and you put him up there against guys that are, maybe like a Hottie that's a little bit more. And obviously he came in, I don't want to take anything away from Hottie this time. He came in with a perfect waist. He was beautiful. He came in perfectly at the Arnold. But I'm saying typically if he was a little bit more, I guess you'd call it blocky or a little bit thicker in the waist, whatever you want to call it. And he doesn't have that same, like you're judging, isn't just based off of like, and don't get me wrong, again, the true principles behind bodybuilding, conditioning and muscularity. But again, it's a combination of those two things. And then the symmetry, the structure that somebody has, how their physique stands up to other people. So you're always judging based on a lineup. You know what I mean? Who's in that lineup and literally what are we looking like? Who is the best out of all of them, taking all of these little things into consideration.
Yep.
So I think it's ambiguous. I think is like the perfect word for it, where it's like it is open to interpretation per that lineup, right, and per the competitors that we're looking at.
Yo, Milflo.
Bill Flover got a question for. He sent a question too, which
What
is
do
a
you
good one.
What do you say?
His question, and then Bernard has another one that was pretty good too, where his question was, and I dialed this back big time, Bill Flover. So his was enough where it fit into two different boxes, but basically it comes back to, is bodybuilding healthy? Like with all the stress and all the whatever it is, based on all the food, pushing all the food, and I don't even think he brought up drugs. I obviously can't go into the thing and see it, but I don't even think he brought up drugs. Just bodybuilding in general, is it a healthy sport?
I think this is like an onion, right? The more you peel the
Mhm.
layers
There's
back,
layers to it.
the more unhealthy it gets. I think if it's somebody who's natural, right? They're not taking anything, their hormones are in check, thyroid's in good standing, they're not fluctuating how some of these guys are going 30, 40 pounds up and then 30, 40 pounds down and then back the other way, keeping their blood pressure in check and all that. I think eating healthy and stuff, it can be, right? Make sure like you have good cholesterol and all that stuff. But I think at the end of the day, like people need to realize like some of these dudes that are 280, 290, 300 pounds all year, like it's not healthy. Like no matter which way you slice it, because if you see somebody overweight, right, and you see someone that's 300 pounds overweight, the first inclination is, okay, that person's not in the best of health. Muscle weighs way more than body fat. So it's like, how would somebody that's 300 pounds, of muscle be healthy, Then on top of that, you add the weight fluctuations, all the food on the gut and all that. I mean, so.
Yeah, I would honestly, if you were going to ask me flat out, point blank, yes or no, I would say no. Even as a natural competitor, I think it's one of those things where it's like, even you said it too, and I'm kind of playing devil's advocate against you. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that eating a standard bodybuilding diet, a lot of food, right? Or even if it was just a moderate amount of food to maintain somebody's bodybuilding shape, right? But like the chicken, the white rice, the way that we look at food within bodybuilding is really specific to the needs of an individual's carbohydrate, protein, and fat consumption, right? And those are the big macronutrients, right? That are energy yielding nutrients that are going to have the most impact on somebody's performance. They're going to have the most impact on somebody's look as far as their physique is concerned. But we're really looking at a healthy diet. Do we need the amount of carbohydrates to be healthy that we're going to be consuming within bodybuilding? Definitely not. Do we need the amount of protein that we're consuming within a bodybuilding spectrum to be a healthy?
No,
Definitely not.
Fuck
right?
no.
Yeah, and if anything, for the most part, most of us are going to be lower fat for the most part, for most of the year. Even we're going to be a lower fat dieter, right? Even if somebody has a certain amount of fat in their diet, they're eating 80 grams of fat, whatever. The bottom line is that person can probably get away with a lot more fats in general, right? All I'm saying is bodybuilding typically is a little bit of a lower fat intake type of a diet, so it's like we're missing out on a lot of nutrition as far as like fruits, veggies, like having whatever. Like I posted a picture today and got a lot of like people were messaging me about it, where it's like I'm eating salmon and whole eggs, and it's like that's a high fat meal, relatively speaking, for people. You know what I mean? But it's like I had a square of dark chocolate in there too, but it's a relatively high fat meal for a bodybuilding diet, right? But it's one of those things where it's like you're loaded with general health benefits out of that, in terms of the omega-3 that you're getting from the salmon, in terms of even the omega-3 you're getting from the eggs, but the other benefits you're getting from the egg yolk, the benefits that you're getting from the dark chocolate. Like there's a lot of nutrients, right, that we're missing out on beyond the protein, carbs, and fats that are required, for bodybuilding, right, in that bodybuilding diet. So we're missing out on a lot of those micronutrients. We're missing out on a lot of that, like really deep nutritional value, if you would, when it comes to bodybuilding. And that's just, we're talking about the diet. But like when we're talking about we take everything that we do in bodybuilding, goes like, if health is here,
extreme,
right? Well, we're doing in bodybuilding is here. Yeah, we're taking all that to the extreme. So it's like it's easy to look at our diet and our cardio and our workout, be like, we're healthy because we're doing this and other people aren't. But it's like, okay, well, other people are down here. The standard American diet is here. The standard American output is here, right? Healthy is here. But what we're taking it as bodybuilders is here. So we're passing that health marker and we're pushing it up to a point where we always have to manage, at what point are we going to hit that point of diminishing returns, right?
Mhm.
Because everything in this world has a point of diminishing returns, right? Nothing is just healthy on top of healthy on top of healthy, right? You can overdo anything. And at the end of the day, with bodybuilding, we are overdoing all of those things that would be considered quote unquote healthy. And I would even say training. Like training is one of those things where when we're doing it for bodybuilding, there's nothing fucking healthy about what we're doing when we're in the gym. Nothing healthy about it at all. We're breaking down our immune system. We're breaking down our body in terms of our joints and our passive tissues and structure there. The bottom line is we like when people talk about it's healthy to exercise, right? When a doctor's mentioning healthy exercise, they're talking about fucking, doing some jumping jacks or going for a walk or some shit like that. They're not talking about fucking destroying yourself, trying to lift the heaviest amount of weight possible, or try to add volume and be progressive as far as your loading strategies are concerned over time. They're not talking about that shit at all. That puts a ton of stress on our CNS. So I would say there's nothing really healthy about bodybuilding, even at that amateur level.
Mhm.
And then Milf Lover actually commented specifically and said, I know people who developed an ED from dieting so hard. 100%,
Oh, yeah.
dude. You've seen
Mhm.
that for
Seen
years and
that
years and
tons of
years.
times.
The whole
Yeah.
thing with the IFFYM and where that came from, if it fits your macros, that whole concept was developed by people specifically for, right, trying to reduce eating disorders within the bodybuilding world. It got blown up and it itself caused a lot of eating disorders.
Mhm.
But the bottom line is it was supposed to be an intervention or an interjection there to make dieting more realistic for competitors, right? They were developing all these EDs from eating nothing but brown rice and chicken breast
Mhm.
back in the day, right? So it's like, there's really no way of hiding from it. It's an extreme sport and needs to be considered as such.
Yeah, basically, I agree with what you both said, but what I was just going to say is anything taken to bodybuilding is an extreme sport. Anything taken to the extreme is unhealthy. And what MILF Lover alluded to, like from my perspective as a female, mentally, it is extremely unhealthy for females. You're overanalyzing your body day in and day out, and that is something that we are already conditioned to do. So when
It's a good call too.
when you're doing that, like kind of doing it for another reason, like kind of being enabled to do that, that is a really big slippery slope for many females. So bottom line, yeah, bodybuilding is unhealthy. Natural, enhanced, anyway, female, male, it is unhealthy.
Yeah. I think I was getting at more originally, like, just to clarify for people, like, if somebody's natural, they're not pressing the PEDs, and they're eating just enough to maintain like a healthy look, enough energy output, healthy sleep, good hormones, things like that. I'm not talking somebody who's like literally trying to compete as a bodybuilder. I'm talking somebody who's just like trying to build their body and look a bit better.
See, but to me, I call that just a healthy lifestyle, like,
Yeah,
because if we're talking bodybuilding, it is to the extreme. And like, I would argue that doing bodybuilding naturally is worse,
Yeah, so do I.
actually getting to that body composition
for women.
without support, especially for women, it's incredibly unhealthy.
yeah.
Yeah. I think you know what it is? It's fucked because the reality is most society is so unhealthy that even if they went to the extreme and became a bodybuilder for a period of time, they could probably turn their health around. You know what I mean? Like we're seeing people that have like fatty liver, their triglycerides are through the roof. They're potentially like on the spectrum of being diabetic and all this. If they were a bodybuilder for just a year, they could probably turn their life around as far as their general health is concerned. You know what I mean? But again, what happens is we push it so far past that it's like we turn that health around, and now there's other health risks that we have to consider beyond that are maybe much less detrimental long term, but they're still there as far as the health risk is concerned because we've met that area of that person getting healthy, right? And then we surpassed it.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I mean the last 3 years now, I'd say, or 2.5. This is the healthiest I've even felt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Since starting stuff at 23 and the dieting for 2-3 shows, you know what I mean? It just is what it is.
Yeah, the older I get, the more I get removed from the typical bodybuilding concept in terms of like the diet, the supplements and all, and it's more along the lines of like what is going to be actually beneficial for me. You know what I mean? And with that, there's a lot of removal of these things that would be typical just bodybuilding lifestyle stuff. But again, a lot of that goes back to, like I said, the way that I'm eating, the way that I'm approaching, like even going to the gym and training and all this different stuff. It's like I'm still training hard. I'm still there. That's the one thing that kind of like, I just like it and I enjoy it. But again, I'm backing off a lot of that stuff. I'm only training 3 or 4 days a week at this point. So it's just one of those things where I think you always have to consider where you're at, what the long-term goal is, and like, have, I don't even want to say like an exit strategy, but like something that's where it's not like this is just life, because you are going to get to a point where you are 38 years old and you're looking at blood work and you're like, oh shit, this is what all this healthy shit has gotten me, right? My lipids are still skewed, my liver enzymes are still elevated. It's like, but we're in the bodybuilding world, so our liver enzymes can be 50. And it's like realistically, it can only be 50 for so long before that starts to have some sort of like, we're talking about, especially when it comes to your ALT, things that are signaling liver damage, right? Or things that are signaling like less efficient kidney function, right? Like, and those things are okay, right? When it comes to bodybuilding, we want to be within a certain range, and we know we're not going to be at the pinnacle of that. But again, how many years can we go not being at the pinnacle of health, right? Before those things start to snowball on themselves.
Yeah, man. No, I agree. And I just had a conversation with Johnny actually Monday. Yeah, yesterday. And we were talking how now, like, for me, now having a second kid and all, like, I'm at the point where it's like, okay, I know I want to compete again. I would like to try and get my pro card. Even if that's in the next 2, 3 years, if that's when I'm 35 and can try and get it at Universe so I can save money, you know what I mean? That I would be otherwise, at that point, having to fly to USA is taking money from, family, kids, everything at this point now. Like, I don't know when it will be. I want to do it, but me and him were talking how, like, if there's no opportunity to do a national show for me right after I do a qualifier, then Johnny's like, I don't think it's wise, man. Like, he was like,
What's the point?
he said, what's the point, dude? Just to take 2 years off your life, hypothetically speaking? Like, you have kids now, man. He's like, you have literally people who depend on you to be alive. Like,
Yeah.
and he's like, I get it. And then we were talking about like dosages and stuff and how like the neurotoxicity of like the trends and this and that. And Johnny's like, Steve, you're probably at a point now, man, where it's been a few years, like you're going to have more muscle maturity. He was like, where we can literally get away from with having you do 300-400 milligrams of test prep and off season, and your levels are going to still be in the upper thousands and low 2000s on blood work, because like my blood work, like I said, back in November, my test was 2418 and that was on 200 milligrams.
Yeah.
And he's like,
we can talk about it off the thing, so it's not like too boring for people. But
yeah.
The only thing I would say for you is like with the kids, get in as early as possible, dude. The longer you wait with the kids, the harder it gets. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
only gets harder.
Like if I'm 35 in 4 years, like they'll be 5 and 4, get it done. And
I know, but that's the ages 4 and 5, and literally the ages where it's like they're going to come into their own. They're going to be like, that's where you really have fun and they want to hang out with you. And it's like, my daughter literally asked me to. She went to her grandparents today, but she's like, Daddy, can you come pick me up from school and drop me off instead of her grandparents picking her up from school? Just because she wanted to have a daddy-daughter.
Yeah, you're not going to say no to that, dude.
Of course not.
Vienna can't say no. I can't say no to Vienna. She can't talk it. She just comes up to me and she's like, "Up." I'm like, "Of course I'm going to pick you up. I'm not going to."
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It only gets harder, dude. It only gets harder.
And if I have another girl now, oh man, my beard's going white.
Yeah, 100%.
Better enjoy this. Better enjoy that Johnny Slicks oil while I can.
Yeah. All right. What question you got for us?
So, for the gentleman, what were you guys on when you conceived your children?
Which child? I was on test for the second two for sure.
How much?
I don't know. At the time of conception, I have no fucking clue.
A whole bottle a week.
Honestly, for the second one, I had it was completely and totally unplanned. There was zero thought that was something. So like, I could have been in the middle of a growth phase. I could have been in the middle of a diet. To be honest with you, I don't know where I was because again, it was so out of the blue. You know what I mean? Right. It was completely and totally like caught us off guard. So it was one of those things where it was like, I couldn't tell you what I was taking, but I could tell you that I was on TRT at that point, at the very least. But it's not like I was trying to be conservative for any reason. Yep. Even the last one, I was without a doubt on TRT, but I think that was it for the last one. I think I was only on TRT for the last one.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anything else going on there.
But you never took fertility stuff or anything?
No, I never took anything to improve fertility whatsoever.
Yeah, so I mean, we've talked about this before, but just for whoever asked, like with Vienna, we got married September. I was on a full cycle when we got married because I just had got off prep. My first bout of like the flare up with Lyme's disease got done. And I literally went back on a cycle in the beginning of September. So it was like 3 weeks before our wedding. I got done that cycle. I think I was on 500 tests, 300 MPP from what I remember. A little bit of growth hormone, and thanks, Milf Lover. And I think that was it, honestly, and Aromacin. And then I told Johnny in November we were gonna start trying. He was like, "All right, dude, we gotta just pull you off." And I was on 100 sip HMG, 75 HMG every other day, 2500 HCG, opposite days of that, 50 Clomid, and that was it. And that worked like a charm. I
Yeah, dude.
literally
I would
felt
get
it.
you pregnant. I would get you pregnant right now if I was on all that stuff.
Dude,
Like,
I mean, I told you before, like the first like 2 weeks of that, I thought I had a hernia and I had to pull over a Wawa because I deadlifted and I was like, Johnny, I have a hernia, dude. I gotta go to the hospital. It's like, no, you don't, you dumb fuck. He was like, that's just your balls dropping. Like you're 13 years old again. And I remember he said it. And dude, and I was in that pain from November to February when Nina, or March when she got pregnant with her. So, and then with this kid now, I was just on TRT, on 100 sip Monday, 100 sip Thursday, and 4 units of growth. And that's it. I didn't take any fertility stuff.
When do
Yeah.
you know you need to take fertility stuff though?
So
Or
with Vienna,
trying
assumed
anything.
because like you've been on shit for so long.
yeah. So with Vienna, I got a sperm analysis 'cause I'm so nervous with the steroids over the years that like my shit was tanked, and they said like your sperm's on the lower side, but it's still like normal range. You know how they all do that shit with
Yeah.
everything. So it was like 24 million, and I sent it to Johnny, and Johnny's like, "Listen, your motility's a little low, but like when they washed it in the sperm analysis, I had like 14 million left." Johnny's like, "Dude, I've seen like people with a million have like fucking twins." So he was like, "You should be good, but if you want to be safe," because my anxiety with it was through the roof. I'm like, fuck, you know. With this one, I got it checked. It was literally almost identical to how it was with Vienna. And Johnny's like, listen, either we do the same thing, you can do the same shit, or you just take the gamble. And I was like, I don't feel like spending $3K for a fucking HMG again, because that shit is not cheap.
Yeah.
And it worked, obviously it worked. So it took longer though this time. It took
Yeah.
July to Nina got pregnant in January versus Vienna was November to really January because she had a miscarriage, and then got pregnant 2 weeks after the miscarriage. So, or the next month, I'm sorry, because she had a polyp,
Yeah.
she had to get that removed, and that was the next month. So, but as soon as she was pregnant, I stayed on the H, and we found out Johnny was like, "Stay on everything, dude, until you guys see a heartbeat." You know, so I was on it for the first
Yeah.
5 weeks. So, but she's 13 weeks now. So, I'm just glad I didn't take that shit again because, dude, my balls could not go through that again.
Does
Yeah.
it hurt?
Oh, Marina, I probably shouldn't be saying this because Nina's on here and she's gonna be like, I'm the one
She's
that
like,
pushes
I
the
gave
fucking
birth.
kid.
Yeah.
I'm the one that fucking gets cut open and pushes the kid out. But yes, it literally feels like your balls are pulling into your abdominal wall the whole like for months.
Oh,
Storing sleep, lifting sucked. Dude,
I couldn't have balls.
breathe. Every time I cough, it hurts so bad. But it is what it is. It was.
All right.
So,
Do you have another one that you want to throw out there? Since I already throw out two, I guess.
do you have any hobbies outside of bodybuilding?
Steve Bowles.
Yo, chill. I do. I
No,
love
it's
bowling.
Steve literally Bowles.
I love bowling.
Tim, I know you have a lot, so I'm going to give you your time. Go ahead.
I have a lot.
Tim's is fapping.
That's my.
Yeah. That's why I don't have any issues with my balls when I take HCG because it's just completely and totally unloaded all the time. No, I just burped in everybody's face. I apologize. Honestly, I have my kids and the Yankees are like my two hobbies outside of bodybuilding. And when I say the Yankees, I mean like as of right now, I'm having like I have another sty in my eye. People can't tell. I'm very stressed out. Garrett Cole went for an MRI. We don't know what's going on with his elbow, but there's clearly some sort of an issue going on there. The Yankees are trying to get a new ace. By contacting the Chicago White Sox and trade for Dylan Cease. There's a lot going on there. Right before this call, I was arguing on Facebook. So like I know people think the Yankees is it really because I'm a big like you have to have a hobby outside of bodybuilding guy. Like I think that's an absolute necessity as it relates to your overall like positive approach. And that could be something where it's as stupid as like two things that are really big within bodybuilding: video games and like anime.
And
right? Like I
bowling.
see a lot of bodybuilders that love video games and anime, which is cool. But it's like that gives you something to spend your time on where your brain is shut off. You're not worried about the OCD tendencies that we put into bodybuilding and like that obsessive, like, like I said, like type A OCD type of concept that we all take to bodybuilding. You need to be able to shut that shit off sometimes. And for me, baseball is something where it's like, I know a lot of people like that's only seasonal. It's like, yeah, it's seasonal for most people, but like I'm the type where I'm literally in every Facebook group that ever existed for the Yankees and a lot of other baseball teams and the MLB. Like I literally spend probably a few hours a week, even in the off season. When I say a few hours a week, I mean between like 3 to 5 hours a week, even in the off season, like specifically just on baseball, whether it's me, going back and forth with people on these Facebook chats or like spending time on a different, like I was literally on a website right before we hopped on here to see what Zach Gallen, who's a pitcher for the fucking Arizona Diamondbacks, average velocity was last year, which was 94.3 miles per hour, by the way, for anybody that cares. Like that's, so it's, but it really is a hobby that I have that's out that has nothing to do with bodybuilding that kind of allows me to escape the bodybuilding concept. And then obviously family time for me. I have 3 kids. So it's one of those things where it's like, even this weekend, like we went to the mall again. For some reason, my kids have a weird obsession with the mall. But like, we'll do something every single weekend where I'm kind of off and stepping away from bodybuilding and just kind of spending time with the family. I might have my meals with me like I did this weekend. But at the end of the day, it's something that allows you to kind of step away from bodybuilding.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, now with Vienna, like a lot of free time just it's like goes with her. I also don't really leave my house, so but yeah, no, I like to watch like old WWE stuff a lot. I don't like New Day WWE shit. Like growing up, like Stone Cold stuff. Like I like to watch like the late '90s, early 2000s stuff. Like that shuts my mind off. I watch a ton of bowling. What'd you say?
I want the glass to break right now.
Yeah, dude, that
Like,
shit.
just
I like bowling. It's one of my favorite sports, as many people that know me well enough now know. I watch a lot of like old bowling stuff, and I love UFC. I'm like not big into video games anymore. I used to be. Now there's just no fucking time for it. I'd rather spend time with, Deanna and Nina than spend the time on a video game. But I do agree that you need to have something outside of bodybuilding because like you'll just sit there and fucking go crazy and like bodybuilding for people who obsess becomes extremely selfish. It goes from selfish to extremely selfish. And a lot of people just tend to like fuck up a lot of good relationships, whether it's family, friends, loved ones, like, and they just become so like involved in it. And a lot of people can't relate. You know what I mean? Like, I make paper swans.
I've been recently going to yoga multiple times a week. It's very relaxing. So yoga I'm getting into. I read.
Yoga sounds like torture.
That's about it. Yoga's great. It's so
Tim.
I only do the super chill classes with all the old ladies.
Yeah, but so Umar paid for a hot yoga class, so like people that he works on can go. It's like the end of April. You guys should drive down and do it with us.
There's no fuck. I did one hot yoga class. There's no
Come
way.
on. If I'm doing it, you guys have to come.
I hate
hot
it.
yoga's got to be. That sounds awful.
Tim,
come do
Yoga
it
itself
with
is
me.
hard, dude.
Tim, we could sweat on each other.
Yoga itself.
Oh, I crochet
hard. Like, hot
sometimes.
yoga, I feel like I'd be like I feel like I have an anxiety attack in hot yoga.
Me too. But
Yeah,
you have to
I
come
literally
do
was
it with
having
me.
an anxiety. Like I was like,
When is it?
I'm hot.
The end of April.
Oh, the end of April's far enough out. We can probably do that.
Gio's coming to it too. Don't let him fool you.
That'll be my cardio session.
Bring Matt too. We can hear him bitch the whole time, Marina.
he actually he's actually come to yoga with me. And he's not bad. He does it, you know?
You got me
He
some
does it.
electric charges.
What?
He's super Geo set. It is ridiculous. I don't even know how Umar's gonna fucking do it because Umar's not a small dude.
I'll go. Just let me know. Let me know the day, but I don't want to. I'm gonna complain. I'm gonna bitch
Oh,
and
I'm gonna
moan.
bitch. I'm gonna bitch the whole fucking time. I can barely bend over and touch my toes. I don't know how the fuck he thinks he's doing that. Yet.
I can now.
Yoga's
I can
tough.
touch the ground with my
Tim, you can do.
palms.
Tim, you can do a downward dog in front of me. It'll all be okay.
Oh
I
god.
think like I know you like you and Omar are bigger than me, obviously, but like remember, I've been doing this job for a little while now, where literally all I do is sit at this chair all day long
I feel
to the
that.
point where it's like legitimately even some exercises now because like my lower back is so shot, my glutes are so weak from sitting all day that it's like I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I'm so immobile. It's really bad. It's like really bad.
I do my hip thrusts every week.
Do you really?
Oh yeah, I do them with my glute.
I need
my
to do
hamstring day.
something, but I always bitch out. Like that's
It's
the one thing.
actually,
I don't bitch out. It's just like it's like doing calf raises, even though I really need to do my calf raises. It's like extra shit that I just like. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do that at the end of my session, and then I get to the end, I'm like, fuck that. Dude, I'm not
It's
doing
actually
hip thrust.
crazy that Marino like hip thrusts more than me. I usually have. Well, my Smith machine's also heavy as shit, but it's still no excuse. She definitely hip thrusts more.
Me?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just because I'm Puerto Rican. I also play piano, guys.
I do too. I used to play piano.
Yeah? Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
going
when I
I've
was
been going to
younger.
lessons and shit.
I
And
used to not like for
incredible,
lessons
really
though.
good.
My sister used to play it for lessons, and I used to take the musical book, and I used to just like learn it on my own.
It's so fun.
We have a piano, but nobody in the house can play it whatsoever.
Go play it right
You
now.
do?
Yeah, we have a piano. Like right in the living room. You saw it, but for sure, you just didn't see it.
Yes, it was probably just furniture to me.
It's up against the wall of that is with the kid. I don't know. What bottom line is, yeah,
Play me something. Tim.
I don't know how to play shit.
Play
I'll
Stone
show you,
Cold
it's so
Entrance
easy.
music on the piano.
I actually
Yeah,
do
there you
have
go.
I do have a lot of hobbies outside of bodybuilding.
All right. So next one that I got was the other one from Bernard, which is if fat loss is dependent, at least to some degree, on being flat or glycogen depleted, why not train exclusively high volume when cutting?
Wait, say that again.
If fat loss is dependent, at least to some degree, on being flat or glycogen depleted, why not train exclusively high volume when cutting to help continue to deplete glycogen?
That's a good question. I want to hear what you guys say
Yeah,
because now I'm like,
you also-
wait.
You also want to be mindful that you're not going like excessively flat to the point where you're starting to fry muscle off, overtax the nervous system, right? Because so I feel like there has to be that balance between okay, we're pushing you where you're depleting because you're not having the carbohydrates in the diet overall to get flat, but okay, we want you flat, we get flat, but now you're just doing way too much volume where you're just sacrificing, into tissue and recovery.
Yeah, that 100%, and that's where I think people go wrong with this concept. It's like, yeah, that makes total sense in theory, but in reality and practicality, like where you're basically now you're changing what you did in terms of training to be able to grow all the tissue that you have, right? You're in a calorie depleted state as it is because training is not going to make up for that much glycogen depletion to where it's like, you're going into, it's not like cardio, for example. Like cardio, you could burn through a shit ton of calories, but when you're training, you're not like how much volume would we have to do to equate whatever amount of calories you're burning during cardio, like an hour cardio session into a training session? It would be a shit ton of volume. And that amount of volume is going to be hard to recover from. And like Steve said, now you're getting into the risk of like losing tissue just for the sake of continued carbohydrate depletions for what? You know what I mean? And again, you're going to see that on multiple different levels. I think your point what you were making, Steve, was like you're getting into all that energy, like you're just too flat for too long,
Yeah,
and you're risking that muscle. Yeah, from that. But I would even say on the other side of that, like I can get a lot of stimulus, right? Like we always talk about here, like you can get a lot of stimulus taking 6 sets, balls to the walls. You know what I mean? And training to failure. Granted, that might look different when you are depleted because you're a little bit more, you know, you're a little bit lighter, right? Leverages aren't the same, like you're a little bit more fatigued, all that different stuff. But again, you're still going to your max capacity at that particular point, and you're doing everything you can to preserve tissue within that concept. Because again, training is a huge mechanical stimulus in and of itself as far as muscle protein synthesis is concerned. So it's like, again, we were talking about with like a point of diminishing return. Everything has a point of diminishing return, right? So it's like when you're spending that much time in the gym, now you are getting into all of the energy that you possibly are consuming from a calorie perspective, right? On top of that, you're taxing your CNS, your central nervous system. It's going to be harder to recover from. Like there's just not enough availability there. There's not enough time in the day to be able to recover. There's not enough calories in the day to be able to recover, right? And you're basically shooting yourself in the foot in terms of muscle preservation. We want athletic performance to stay relatively high during contest prep, right? Like that's ultimately a big factor as it relates to metabolism and then muscle preservation. So we don't want to like risk that from saying like, oh, let's just have even a couple sessions a week that are like super high volume. It's like, well, how long does it take us to recover from that? Everybody's a little bit different. And Elias, we should have had Elias come on for this one.
Yeah, I was just
Because
thinking
we
that.
found out we found out, Elias, that our fourth person wasn't in. Well, if we invite him now, the only problem is he won't be on the podcast recording. That's what happened last time with Johnny, where he basically lost the entire thing from a podcast recording because he wasn't
here though
there.
for the last half hour if you want. I mean,
It's up to Elias if he's got time for it.
send him a thing.
If not, we can get him on for another episode.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Something's planned, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
But you're in, Elias. And honestly, you're also somebody that's on my list, Elias, to contact for the other podcast that we do
I
too.
don't think he's in here anymore.
I want to talk to you about a lot of shit.
He's not in here anymore.
All right. Well, either way. Yeah, so that was that one. What do you got, Steve?
Can somebody be considered a bodybuilder if they live the lifestyle and don't compete?
That's
Matt Norman
Go
did
ahead.
that, right? He did that on his
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, he asked this, but somebody asked me it like in the box thing.
Go ahead, Marina. What's your thoughts on it?
My thoughts, I think, like, I don't think they would be considered a full bodybuilder because I think it does take a certain, you need to take it to a certain level to be able to actually get stage lean. But that's only 10% of the time that you're spending as a bodybuilder. So I'd say they are 90% a bodybuilder. If that makes any sense.
I don't know. I'd argue I see people at every single show I go to on an amateur level. Every single one I go to.
Oh yeah, no, but I'm talking about getting stage lean.
I'm talking about when we're at a show.
But yeah,
right?
but
And
that's
there
what
are
I'm saying.
people
That getting on stage doesn't make you a bodybuilder.
Okay, fair enough.
You know what I'm saying? That
Fair
like
enough. Yeah,
you have to live the lifestyle because that's 90% of it.
Right, 100%. Okay, I agree with that. Yeah, I would say, me personally, I would say yes. I would say you're not a competitive bodybuilder, but
That's
you
so
are a bodybuilder.
opposite. So you're saying yes. Wait, so you're saying yes? Oh wait, yeah, no, you are saying yes. Sorry.
You are a bodybuilder. You're just not a
Yeah.
competitive bodybuilder. And I don't know how, if that's the
Yes.
line that we're drawing, where
Yes.
it's like, you got to compete to be a competitive bodybuilder. Fine, we'll call that a competitive bodybuilder.
Okay.
But I think bodybuilding to me is about always trying to be better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like trying to be bigger, trying to be leaner when you do cut, et cetera, and like living that lifestyle 24/7 that allows you to progressively, see those changes over time. Right. And if somebody's doing that, like if like for me, if I never stepped on stage, but I went from being 150 pounds in an off season to being 230 pounds in an off season, right? The bottom line is that's still very fucking, like, how many
You're
bodybuilders
bodybuilding.
on an amateur
Yeah.
level even do that? Yeah, like you have to be a bodybuilder to be able to get those kind of results for the most part, right?
I always
you're not
like
gonna
to
do that
say,
just by kind of fucking around.
yeah, it's bodybuilding, not body showing. Getting on stage doesn't mean jack shit, except for, actually getting stage lean. That it's like a little extra medal.
Yeah, that's actually a good way of looking at it. I didn't even think about that, like the inverse concept there, where it's like and you said it. You were obviously thinking that way. I didn't think that way, but like if just because you step on stage doesn't make you a body. How many people have we seen and or talked to that are like, oh, I compete? It's like, really?
I'm a bodybuilder,
competed?
and
Yeah.
they're fucking whatever. I'm
Yeah,
not
it's
gonna be
like
mean.
clearly you didn't live the lifestyle very much or for very long or very hard, because it didn't really show that you were a competitive bodybuilder. You just paid an entry fee and stepped on stage and got an NPC card. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
How many more you got to?
I got a few more. I didn't realize it was my fault. I thought my turn. I thought you were
No,
going.
you're good. dude.
How to improve sleep, but this person was specifically waking up early mornings 3 to 4 a.m. when they need to be up at 7 a.m. Right. So I think that's two different questions. Like, how do you improve sleep? And then
Wait, I gotta
specifically,
ask this too. I said how to deal with
Oh.
insomnia or staying asleep at night.
oh, perfect.
So just answer it all.
Yeah, basically the same shit. So,
Go ahead, Tim. Sorry.
oh, fuck. I was waiting. Go ahead.
I was
I
gonna
want you to go
say, I
first.
mean,
Mhm.
I'm lit on Zins right now, and I feel like I just keep going.
bedtime routine, right? Nighttime routine's huge. Screen. I always tell people like eliminate screen. There's some people can just fall asleep like on their phone or TV, but if you're having an issues falling asleep and staying
Yeah, but
asleep,
sorry, I don't
so-
want to cut you off, but like even if you're on your phone up until the second you're falling asleep, like I have clients who are like, yeah, I scroll on my phone, but like once I put it down, I go to sleep. When I've noticed on my Aura Ring, my heart rate does not come down when I'm on my phone up until bedtime. But if I take my phone away from bedtime for like an hour, my heart rate is able to come down like pretty fast.
Yeah.
And
We
the
also
whole
have good
melatonin
research
thing,
on this
but-
too. We also have good research on this. The melatonin thing would go along the lines of what the person's talking about when they're saying, hey, I can shut my phone off and I can go back to sleep. The most recent research we have on that is that there's like whatever, I think it's like a 15-minute thing on average, right? Where it's like the blue light that's radiating from our phone, right? While you're sitting there playing with your phone can actually fool our brains, right? Through literally going through the eye and like, you know, the fuck, I forget what exactly it's going to hit first, but it basically signals to the brain that it's
Oh my
noon.
God.
It's not midnight, right? So we want to get rid of that blue light. But the only thing that we've seen here recently is that it doesn't matter how much blue light's coming in. Once you shut that blue light off, 15 minutes later, melatonin will come back, right? And melatonin rises, you're able to fall asleep. The problem is from there, the quality of sleep you get, to Marina's point, which she has an Aura Ring now. So now she's a fucking techie nerd and thinks she knows all this fucking shit. She's a scientist.
I am
But
a
at the end of the day, there
scientist.
is legit research on that too.
Yeah.
But you were going there, Steve. Follow
I
through
was saying-
where you're going.
Sorry, I
So-
completely cut you
No,
off.
it's all good. I was gonna say screen time is huge, right? And also like social media. So like social media is just like a rabbit hole of anxiety, I find, for most people. Like you
Mhm.
go
Yep.
you go through one post and then you're on this page, that page, the other. Especially at prep, like all these fucking people like with this food and shit. Like if you think like at 10 o'clock at night you're trying to fall asleep and you're starving, but looking at food's gonna help, it's only triggering like the emotion more. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So, I think that's a big thing too. Also, like, make sure you're not fucking eating like right before you go to bed, because then like you're just gonna be sitting there fucking bloated. I don't even care. I tell clients if it's just a whey shake or just egg whites, like your body still needs to digest that food. Even if you're 4 weeks out, you're starving. Still give yourself like an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to digest.
People don't realize how much energy goes into that digestion. Remember, that's
Mhm.
one of our 4 pillars in terms of total daily energy expenditure. So we talk about our metabolism on a day-to-day basis and where our body actually expends calories. One of those big pillars is we have basal metabolic rate, we have exercise activity thermogenesis, we have non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and then we have the thermic effect of food. So as you're consuming that food and as you're digesting it, it's a huge energy expenditure. And when your body's expending all that energy, the last thing it's going to do is go to sleep. Effectively, anyway.
I'm gonna add. Fuck, I was gonna add something.
Oh, also,
also-
cookies were amazing.
Training before bed. I know not
Oh, yeah.
everyone can, train midday or train in the morning, but if you can, schedule your training earlier in the day for sure, because your cortisol is also going to be spiked if you're training at 9 p.m. and you're trying to get to bed at 10.
It's also that too, right? That, but also furthermore on that too is stop fucking taking pre-workouts loaded with 400.
Oh yeah, cut your caffeine
your
literally
caffeine.
at we say 3 p.m. the latest.
Yeah, remember another one on that one too, the caffeine, because I'm just going to keep spitting them out here, the facts, right? Caffeine is one of those things that a lot of people will tell you like, oh, I'm fine. I go to bed perfectly fine after. It's
that's
like,
an
dude,
issue.
you might,
Has it
Yeah,
a
you
6
might
to 8
fall-
hour half-life?
even if you fall asleep, the reality is caffeine is a drug. And like Marina just said, it has a very specific half-life in the body. Just because you don't feel it doesn't mean that it's not doing something,
Mhm.
right? Like it literally, the like it attaches to a specific receptor in there, and it's going to prevent you from falling into deeper cycles as far as your sleep patterns are concerned.
I actually signed up for a research like thingamajigger on the Aura Ring, and it's telling me do not have caffeine by like this time or whatever. I'm like, I don't because I'm good.
Yeah, I think if you're the only thing I'll add to that, because I think Steve nailed it, right? Like make sure that you have a dark room, right? I was just telling Marina how my new blackout shades are working
Cold-
out for me.
Cold
Pretty
room
good.
too. Cool room.
Cold.
100% cold. And people think cold. It's like 65 degrees is what's been shown to be the most effective temperature as far as sleep is concerned, right? 65 degrees is pretty damn cold compared to most people's houses. Obviously, we're getting into a different time of year, but during the wintertime, people have their heat at like 70 or whatever. It's definitely something to be considerate of. Yeah, I know it's crazy to me, but nonetheless, it's people
the
do
I
shit
wish
that.
I
like
could
six
control my
before.
temperature.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so there's specific things you can do there. But if you're waking up at 3 or 4 a.m. every morning, right? The reality is you're having that's cortisol that's getting you up, right? Like cortisol is a hormone in our body, and that's what drives that. It's literally called an awakening response, right? So if you're waking up at 3 or 4 a.m. and you're wired, like you're awake, right? Like people say wired. At the end of the day, you're probably not waking up like totally, but you're actually up. Like you can get up and you can perform at whatever level you need to perform at. The reality is that's cortisol that's waking you up, and that's going to be the cortisol that keeps you up there. That means you need to manage yourself a little bit better before going to bed, whether it's doing something to kind of bring you down a little bit, like we said, not playing on your phone, maybe doing some sort of like breathing exercise, or doing something that like just is a very like calm, type of state for you, right? Like you're training too late at night, whatever. The bottom line is you got to get into a more calm state before bed, so those cortisol levels come down a little bit, right? And or there's supplements that we could use around that, like Phosphatidylserine to help manage that. There's other things that we can take, like Relora, so on and so forth, to be able to bring down those cortisol levels a little bit more efficiently. Can
I think
energy
that'll
drinks
go.
bloat you or make you wake up bloated? Probably not. If you're waking up bloated, and see, that's the thing. Like we use the word bloated, and I know this is you too, Taylor, where it's like we're using the word bloated, but like sometimes it's like, could you be inflamed from things like energy drinks, not getting good enough sleep, and then wake up and have this layer of water that you're holding, which we're calling bloated? Yeah, that could happen for sure, right? Because again, your cortisol has an impact on aldosterone, which is our essentially like our oh, I got my thumbs up, right? Like an anti-diuretic hormone. And then we're in a position where it's like we're retaining water, right? We're inflamed, and we can visually see that bloated within your midsection, within your stomach, right? So again, not looking like, but actually being bloated internally, like stomach distended, right? I'm gassy, right? Like my stomach's just not right first thing in the morning. That's a bigger issue that's usually going to need a GI map to be able to get to the bottom of.
Yeah, Tim, I have people take it depends if their stress levels I see are so high. The company that makes the zinc carnosine, what is it? Integrative Therapeutics, right? They have
I have
some
no idea.
they have something that's called like cortisol manager. I know Johnny sent it to me like a year or so ago.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The yellow, it got the yellow
Yes,
thing on
yeah,
the
yeah.
bottle.
So they make a really good zinc carnosine, and Johnny was like, somebody's super stressed and like just simple ashwagandha, their magnesium's not doing it. Like you could have them take that because it has like the phosphatidylserine and all that other stuff in there too. The ashwagandha, like all in one.
We also have
a blend of other shit too.
We also have a supplement at Aries. Shout out to Aries Nutrition called Tom from Morphogen Nutrition. That is a good dosage of phosphatidylserine. Kana. It's got Shodan root, the more bioavailable form of ashwagandha. It's got like everything in there. It's a really good supplement.
And what Cordy's too from
Cordy's is awesome. I would say Cordy's is really strong to the point where I would use that if somebody has like clinically high cortisol. So like if I have labs that show like, their cortisol is 30 in the morning, then something like Cordy's will really bring down that cortisol. But something like Calm or even ashwagandha, those things, I think those are more like they'll manage cortisol more efficiently. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas Cordy's will just tank your cortisol, which we don't want to do. Remember, cortisol is a good thing. It's just too much of anything is too much. Always a point of diminishing returns. Yeah. So cravings and hunger during menstrual cycle.
Suck it up.
I just feel so strongly about this. I think it's more so a social construct, honestly. If you will, like, Do you want to
This
eat?
bitch wants to get eaten alive on TikTok. Fat chicks are gonna come for
Do
you, man.
you want some more comfort food because you feel like shit? Yes, but it's not because of your menstrual
Shit,
cycle.
I'm
It's
ordering
because
Domino's
people
after
are
this, and I
telling
ain't
you
on
that
my
you want
period.
chocolate, so you keep having chocolate, and it's just a
That's
habitual thing.
prove it.
Wait, what'd you say?
Who, me?
Yeah, prove it. Prove you're
Oh,
not on your menstrual thing.
oh, me? Oh, I thought you meant prove
Yeah.
I'm gonna get Domino's. Yeah, I'll
No,
send you a picture.
I'm not. I believe you, dude. What are you talking about? You're my hero because you're gonna get Domino's. Sorry, Marina. I wanted to hear your thought on this because I knew you were gonna be charged up. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
I already lost my
Social
train of
construct.
thought, but basically, I don't. What even is the question?
It's not. It wasn't really a question. It's just cravings and hunger on my during my menstrual cycle. Anything they can do about it.
But
Anything
also
you can
too,
do about it? Just you shouldn't be having intense cravings and
I
PMS
yeah,
symptoms.
I think a big thing too is how is your plan structured, right? Like, are you getting enough macronutrients, micronutrients? Are you being fed enough to where the point of like, okay, you know the hunger's normal because your metabolism's on fire, your coach has you in a dieting phase, whatever, you know, or is it simply just because like, okay, do you have fruit in your diet? Do you have some sugar? Like, what's the case, right? Are you being depleted elsewhere where now your menstrual cycle is magnifying everything, forcing you to cheat, and now it's like a week of your period is now just backtracking the work you just did the
Mm-hmm.
last 3 weeks before it started.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing to look at too. The dark chocolate I started adding a lot to, a ton, and like people love that shit. So thanks for that.
Dark chocolate's fire, but yeah,
But
I
I
just
also
think
think
it's
it's like someone like with peanut butter. Some people can't be trusted with some shit. They just can't. Like peanut butter is one of them things. Like if somebody's like, yeah, so like I see you have like 18 grams of natural peanut butter, but I just like didn't weigh it and I just had 2 tablespoons. Like, so you really have like 60 fucking grams. That's coming right out.
yeah,
100%.
And I tell them with the dark
yeah.
chocolate, I'm like, listen, this Theo dark chocolate, like if it says 12 grams or 8, you have to weigh it out. You can't
See,
just
that's where I would be careful with that as it relates to like this topic of conversation, right? Like cravings and hunger during a menstrual cycle. Like I'd be careful with giving somebody like I'd give dark chocolate because it's a really good fat source. You know what I mean? Like not because somebody's like, oh, I'm craving this. Can I have a little bit? In that case, it's like, yeah, you could have a little
Yeah.
bit. But the reality is you're opening Pandora's box too there. You know what I mean? Where you're saying like, oh, all I want is chocolate or all I want is nut butter or these things have to be in my diet to some extent, right? And then it's like you're the person that is probably going to overdo those things because of how much you want them in your
Mm-hmm.
diet. So to Steve's point, you're probably better off maybe even abstaining from those at least for a period of time so you can gain some self-control around those items and then maybe integrate them back in small amounts. But I think where Marina was going was probably more where we need to kind of highlight like at the end of the day, your body doesn't know what chocolate is. Like you don't want like that's a complete and total mental thing that you
Mm-hmm.
created for yourself and that we've been told is okay over and over and over again. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where it's like, oh, it's you have cravings during your cycle. This is normal. Blah 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 blah. Well, if you're having intense cravings, is that normal?
Like, no,
Right?
fucking
Is it
not.
normal or is it a side effect of something that's going on within that cycle in terms of the way that your hormones are cycling? You know what I mean? And maybe not in the best spot possible. And maybe that does correlate, like Marino saying, to like PMS symptoms and all these other horrible, like a heavy flow and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like now we need to do some deeper investigative work there. But again, I think the main point here is your body doesn't know chocolate. You know what I mean? Your brain doesn't like there's no craving specifically for chocolate. You mentally want chocolate,
Mm-hmm.
right? And maybe you're hungrier because you're on your cycle and those two things converge there, right? Or you're on your menstrual cycle and then those two things converge there, right? And it becomes these things that you can't really separate mentally in terms of the hunger and the cravings. They're just one, right? But at the end of the day, it's one of those things where it's like Steve made a good point there too, where it's like, okay, well now, and this is somebody that I had a conversation with, where I'm like, all right, well let's look. Are we having like maybe you need to increase the fruit that's in your diet to be able to get more integral nutrients so that your body's not craving any specific nutrition, right? And then on top of that, you're going to have something sweet there that might be something that's a little bit more comforting or something that's kind of going to ease that sweet tooth a little bit, et cetera, et cetera. But again, I think there's a lot of things to be considerate of there, like especially on the menstrual cycle. Like, are we getting enough sleep, during that time? Sometimes your sleep can be impacted. When sleep goes down, sleep deprivation, right? Could be even sleeping, half an hour less than what you typically do. Your hunger is going to go up.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different factors that go into play here. But again, I do think that hunger is something that is very real and very relevant around your cycle. And that's not just during menstruation, that's during your cycle. You'll have different periods, right? When that luteinizing hormone shoots up and you ovulate, there's going to be different side effects. When your estrogen's a little bit higher in that follicular phase, there's going to be different side effects. And then obviously when you're in the luteal phase and then menstruation, there'll be different side effects. And the bottom line is hunger is definitely something that could be relevant to different areas there. But the reality behind that is, you know, there's also a goal that's in mind. You know, I work with a lot of female competitors, right? And I have female competitors that go, whatever it is, you know, 12 weeks through a diet with a normal cycle, 16 weeks through a diet with a normal cycle, even sometimes 20 plus weeks through a diet with a normal cycle, and they're not cheating on their diet, thinking they have to have chocolate, right? So willpower is definitely a part of this conversation as well.
Yeah.
So it's the mentality you bring to things.
Yep.
Yeah, basically just
You got another one,
that
Steve?
hunger shouldn't be a reason to go off your plan or forget about your goals, essentially.
Yeah, or to justify chocolate.
Justify
You know what I
chocolate,
mean?
yeah.
Like it's one thing if you're saying I'm hungry, it's like, okay, cool, let's have more, whatever, you know, fruit, chicken and rice, whatever it might be,
Mhm.
right? But once we start to think like we have to have chocolate, that's probably where the problem is here. Steve, you got another one?
Yeah, how many more you got?
I got I think I only have one more actually.
All right, yeah, I got 2 more.
Go for it.
This first one is, what is your last meal consist of?
What does the last meal consist of?
Yeah, it says last meal, what are you eating?
Oh, like last meal ever?
What are
Like
you
death
doing?
row meal?
No, I guess like for the day. What's up, Papa? Come here.
Last meal for the day. Whoa.
Hi.
Say
What's up,
hi.
Stinky
Can't
Pants?
hear
High
me,
five?
right?
Thank you. High
Yeah,
five.
high fives.
High five. Thank you. High five.
I don't know about you guys, but my last meal of the day has to be something like I that's where I'm looking for my comfort. Like I stop work at that
I do
point.
something
Like
sweet.
I'm trying to like calm down. I'm trying to reach for the most comforting thing I can. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, something sweet. Yeah, something sweet. Like again, oatmeal with like a square of dark chocolate, some maple syrup on top, or some fake maple syrup if you're dieting to a certain extent. And then I usually do like a protein shake with that. I know some people put their protein into their cream of rice
hate
or their
that.
oatmeal, which I think is gross.
They're disgusting.
Yeah, it's
What is
disgusting.
it?
You guys
What
are
is it?
weirdos. Protein in the cream of rice or in the oats.
Oh, that's what I do.
Yes,
Disgusting.
it's gross. I don't like it. You
That's why
ruined
you're not-
oatmeal.
That's why you're not hardcore, bro.
I am the
I'll-
same.
I'll drink my even through prep. Like I'll literally mix my protein into like a paste and I'll eat it like a pudding just so that I can eat it and not drink it. Yeah, but I don't like
I'm
to
gonna
mix
be
the two
honest with you
together.
guys. I don't like whey protein. I don't
hate whey
like
protein.
I hate it. I don't like fucking oatmeal.
I don't like it.
I don't like cream of rice. I don't like it. I like oatmeal. That's the
You don't
flavor.
like anything healthy.
Well, yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
I like
Yeah, so as you can flavor it like a cheesesteak.
cheesesteak oatmeal. That's our next invention, Tim.
Oh God.
Honestly, people are probably fucking buying it. They're buying taco
Cream of rice.
Cream of rice. That's fucking
You're right.
gross.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
god.
I think that's gross.
That's
Dude, there's
nasty.
somebody I unfollowed the guy because he was posting this shit every day. He was putting ketchup on the taco cream of rice. Dude, I wanted to vomit.
Fuck that. Fuck no.
And he was mixing his potatoes in it too. That's disgusting.
I had a client once, Anthony Melanicki came to me one of his preps. He came to me to train,
What?
right? When he was like a few weeks out or whatever. His post-workout meal was like chicken, cream of rice, and something else that I was giving him. And he put them,
don't
he
say
was
it.
eating them together. Yeah, he ate them together. And
That's
the cream of rice was like his rice was like, I was like, oh my God, dude, you actually eat that shit together. Like, I didn't even know people did that, but apparently that's the thing. It's like grits.
You know what I see people do? Beef and oats.
Oh,
Beef and
together?
oats. I've seen and almond butter.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gross. I mean, I could do them separate. Like I can
Separate.
have beef
Yeah.
with like zucchini or something like that, eat that in one bowl and then have my oatmeal in another bowl and eat that. I could do that all day. No
Same.
problem.
Same.
So
You know what I
right-
mean? But I'm not
right-
mixing them together.
Right now, my first meal, I'm eating 80 grams of cream of rice. And then Johnny's got me doing 30 grams of whey. So I'll put the whey in the cream of rice after I make the cream of rice on the stove. But I also has blueberries, natural peanut butter, and strawberries in there. So it kind of like dilutes everything out.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have the fruit in there, it's like you might as well just go to the beach and just start eating sand. It's
You're
disgusting.
crazy. That shit to me is delicious. I'm telling you, make your cream of rice with your second to last meal, right? Put it in the fridge and then let it sit for that 2.5, 3 hours or whatever until your last meal. And that shit is like, especially when you're dieting, that shit is like cake.
Oh, it's
It
fire.
doesn't get any better than that. That cold cream
Dude,
of
my
rice.
li- my
And I'm telling you,
whole
put some
life-
dark chocolate on top, let it melt. And then when you go back in, it's been sitting in the fridge for a little while. The chocolate's gotten hard again. It's like a hard shell cover. Fucking delicious.
Why
Dude.
would I do that when I could just eat chocolate cake? Like,
Not
like-
everybody gets away with that, Steve. Not everybody gets away with that. I would need 14 units of growth hormone a day.
I do thank my father for that.
Yeah, good genetics.
Because like if you see my dad, dude, like his calves are like 2% body fat. His quads still have feathers on them, and he has like full obliques and abs. And it's actually fucking. And he's 64.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
my dad lost 2 toes by the time he was 64 to diabetes. That's not an
Woo.
exaggeration.
Oh
That's
god.
actually not a joke at all.
I tell people all the time, it's just like that Spartan blood. You know what I'm saying? From 300. Those are like my ancestors.
Yeah.
That's where I get my beard
That's why your
from.
be-
That's where I get my
Exactly.
metabolism from.
It makes total sense.
It's just is what it is. I just, it's good blood lineage that I'm very thankful for. But I eat bad like 3 times a week. But
God bless you, son. God bless you.
but if I didn't have those calories, I would lose it. Like, dude, when Wednesday morning I weighed 242. I didn't sleep at all on Thursday night when we were in the hospital in Vienna. I got home when we got home Friday morning. I was in the bathroom. I stepped on the scale. I was 229.
I can lose and gain weight relatively quickly.
I can't gain
Right, like,
the
I
weight
will lose
quick.
weight.
I'll lose it quick.
Like
as
we
shit.
went, we were just because we do a podcast every other week in person, right? And it was like whatever January, I don't know, like the 3rd week of January or something like that. Riley and I were doing the podcast on our own. I stepped on his scale at the end of the night, so this was like 8 o'clock at night or whatever, and I was 203. We just hopped back. I just hopped back on that scale, whatever it is now, a few weeks later, right? What is it, like 6, 7 weeks later, something like that? And what was I, Marina? I was like 218.
Something like that. Like almost 220,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So it's like I can put on the weight relatively easy. I can lose the weight really quickly. But the bottom line is if I gain that weight by eating cheesesteaks and Domino's like you do, it'll just all go to my fucking fat ass love handles and they'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger.
I'm so lucky that I just never.
I have one Vienna here and one Vienna here, and they just keep getting bigger and bigger.
You hear that?
How do can we I'm gonna report Riley's comment.
My last meal is like the same as Tim. It's usually some sort of something sweet and warm and like oats and fruit. And my protein is usually just chicken, a little bit of chicken.
My last meal right now is 150 grams of potato, 4 whole eggs, and 2 Dannon light fits. It's pretty good.
Nice.
Dan and Lion Fits I like at night too.
They're so fucking good, dude.
Yeah, those are fucking flavors.
All right.
Last question I got real quick. Actually, you know what? I don't know. This one was one where it was I talked to this person individually. It goes, they're dieting, they're doing steps daily, and they're getting results. They've lost weight, but now they have a very busy schedule, and they wanted tips on how to integrate the gym into their very busy schedule.
Say this again. Sorry.
So they're already on a plan. They're doing well. They're dieting. They're doing steps, right? And in less than 2 months, right? So they're like literally almost less than 2 months now. She's like 1 more week and it's 2 months. She's lost 13 pounds in 2 months. So she's doing good, right? But she wants to know now, I want to integrate in gym sessions. How should I go about integrating gym sessions into my busy schedule?
So I would say,
Which I know is kind of a vague
I would say
question. but-
start small.
yes, I was gonna say start with 2 days.
Mhm.
Map your week out whenever your week starts, right? Because everybody's week's different, right? For like us, it starts Monday, right? But like whenever your week starts, map it out. Say, okay, this is where like my least busy days are. I'm gonna commit to waking up in the morning, getting it done before work. So if any bullshit occurs later in the day, work goes late, kids, spouse, whatever, it's already done. The work's done. You don't have to worry about it. And if
Actually,
you,
almost verbatim what I said.
yeah,
Mhm.
and if you can get 2 days in for, I'd say a month straight, right? Make sure you're
Add a
sticking
third.
to it, not just a week, because a week
Mhm.
is nothing. A month, add a day. I would say
I got
probably
you.
in this case, you probably don't need more than 4 days there. To be honest, you probably could get away with even 3, so you're not stressing
3.
yourself out, and you'd be fine.
Yeah, that's almost like literally exactly what I said.
So weird.
Start,
I think
like,
we're both like coaches or something.
Yeah, but well, it's just one of those things where it's like, well, I think a lot of people are like, just go to the gym or like do this or do that. And it's like, dude, just be scheduled. Like literally set like commit to yourself and like hold that commitment with yourself. And it's like, I'm gonna do these 2 days. I know where I have the time, right? Like make sure that if you're gonna say I'm at the gym at 10 a.m. on Monday and 10 a.m. on Friday, then be at that fucking gym at 10 a.m. Monday and Friday until it becomes some sort of a routine.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, of course.
I love it. I have nothing
actually,
to add.
Riley, I don't work out anymore, dude. I'm actually just gonna take a fuck ton of GHRP6 and become a professional eater.
Still strong, man.
Yeah, professional.
All right, Steve, you had one more, right?
Yeah, Riley, how far do you live from here?
He lives up by me. He's actually a little bit. He's in Middletown, so he's a little bit further than me.
Oh shit, I was gonna say if you're ever down here, come lift.
He is all
got-
over the map, all over the all the time. So
He's prep starts now, so for him
We could do legs in the shed and half die and throw up.
that'd be good. You could actually run him through some posing and shit too. Seriously,
Yeah, if he wants to come down, he's welcome anytime. As long as he can deal with death metal, no mirrors.
he's
and-
not a death metal guy, that's for sure. And
he
loves
needs mirrors. Yeah.
Yeah, he loves mirrors.
I have 2 mirrors in front of the dumbbells, and that's because my dad trash picked them.
I'm pretty sure the only reason why he goes to the gym is because there's multiple mirrors
There's
around.
mirrors.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's all right, Riley. I'll take care of you over here, but these people are just degrading you.
Yeah.
How do you deal with clients who
Rude.
clearly are lying in their check-ins?
Call them out.
Verbally slap motherfuckers around.
Literally.
No, honestly, it's one
Take
of
out
those
the
things
whip.
where it's like obviously you're not doing yourself any good, but you're also making my job harder. And like
Mhm.
at the end of the day, like I'm gonna confront you because I'm not just gonna keep rolling through check-ins. Like what I try to tell everybody is like, dude, your $250 to $300 a month doesn't do me any good. You know what I mean? Like that one monthly payment. Like I respect you as a client. I appreciate the fact that you're spending money with me. That's great. But like I have 3 kids. We live in fucking central New Jersey. Like $300 a month doesn't do me anything. Like it really doesn't help with much. You know what I mean? It doesn't even pay one of my car. Like it's not that much money. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I need to get you results, sell people on your transformation, and get 10 more clients based off of your results. Right. That's what I want as a coach. That's what I want. I'm selfish in this. It's not necessarily that I care so much about your results. I do, but it's not necessarily just that. It's the reality that like, hey, I really want to turn you into 10 more people. So I'm making $3,000 off of you in reality, not $300 off of you. You know what I mean? And it's like, in order for me to do that, I have to get results. So if you're checking in and you're lying, if you're checking in, you're not doing the work that you're supposed to be doing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The reality is it doesn't do me any good to just sit there and take your money every month when I know you're not going to get a result. I'd rather honestly have that real conversation, right? Either get through those hurdles or get past those hurdles, or just honestly decide that this is the right time for you and not continue to take your $300 a month and then not have somebody on the team that's not progressing. It's hard as a coach when you have clients that just aren't getting it done. And then I have to do that check-in every week and I'm searching for something to give you on a 5-minute voice note or a 10-minute loop video. Like I'm searching. It's like, it's not like a fun job to have at that rate. You know what I mean? Like we want clients that are getting results. And again, we have to have that honest communication to be able to kind of, build you up and get you past whatever you're stuck on.
Yeah, I think too, like it's important for people to realize, like, sure, everybody's progress is going to be different, but if you're listening, the progress is going to be noticeable, of course. I mean, unless it's like a rare instance where there's something else going on, like blood work or
Which is rare.
Yes, rare, exactly, right. So, but when you've been doing this, or I don't even think it's a time thing. I just think it's like when you've seen as many people as we have, you can clearly tell when someone's bullshitting.
Yeah.
There's only so many damn excuses one can make, you know what I mean? And like, kind of hear them all, you can just tell. I just call people out now, right? I think like the first 2 years I was coaching, even most of like 2022, I think I was a little too nice and like, I don't want to say understanding, because like I feel like with some things, of course, we have to be as a coach understanding, right?
Of course.
Like someone had a shitty week and like they hit the gym, nothing because they're working fucking overtime. Like there's nothing you can do. There's only so much time in the day.
Life happens.
Yeah, right. But I think like when they're just consistently making excuses of like, yeah, so I cheated on my diet every day and like I just didn't prep my meal. Like, okay, then why are we doing? Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? And like, if you can just tell someone's lying, I just call them out now. Like, hey, listen, like, I really have nothing to say other than you have to be honest with me. I can clearly tell you're lying. And if I'm not, I'll be the first to admit, sorry, I'm wrong. I apologize. That's
100%,
on
yeah.
me. Keep moving forward. But most of the time, that's not the case. Usually we're right, I could say.
Yeah, and
It's like-
usually it does allow you to open up. You're opening up the conversation, though. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The communication, where it's
Yeah.
like, remember, you guys are the ones with the plans. You guys are the ones that want the result. Like, you guys are the ones that are supposed to be following those plans to get those results. You
Yep.
got to be communicative to us in terms of what's standing in the way.
Yeah, dude, it's like, what are we trying to do here? Like, you're clearly lying. Like, you're not going to get to where you want to get. I'm like, what was the whole point of you reaching out here is to get better, right? To enhance something that, and learn something you didn't know and make a better version of yourself. You're not listening, then what's the point,
Where are you at with that, though, Marina? Because I'm like, honestly, when I was in your position, it was like different. And Steve obviously alluded to the same thing, where it's like, when you first start out, you only have so many clients, and you're trying. Like, honestly, it comes down to the fact that $300 a month payment is a lot more money. You know what I mean? When you only have so many $300 payments coming in, you know what I mean? So it's like for you, it might almost be something where there's maybe a little bit more patience, a little bit more communication.
We've
on your
all
end.
been there,
Like,
though, Tim. We've all had to just
I
handle.
mean,
shit,
Tim, you know me, I have
Yeah.
no patience. I have negative patience. I don't have patience and I have to work on that. But for me, like I rather have that tough conversation. I've definitely fired clients over them just, not being ready, not getting into it and stuff. So it's like I'm totally on both of your guys's same kind of idea where it's like you have to have that tough conversation because although I'm just starting off and I don't have too many clients, like I still have that same mindset of like, I'm not here for you to waste my time and I'm not here to take your money either. Because again, still for me, $200, like that's not going to pay for jack shit because I have a lot of shit that I have to pay for, so it's not like me holding on to one client is going to do me any good. I honestly just get more annoyed every time I open a check-in and they're still lying to me. I'm like, I don't have the patience for this. I need to like decrease my cortisol. So goodbye.
You've also been on the other side of that too. I've actually canceled Marina's payments once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That did
When
happen
I
once.
was in Spain
Yeah.
What are you doing in Spain?
studying abroad,
Chasing Spanish boys,
chasing
living in the Alpine,
sure.
Switzerland
The
mountains. and
Spanish
shit.
boys from PA.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but you know
Literally
what I'm
the
saying,
other
though. Seriously, like at
Yeah.
the end of the day, you've been on that side of things too, though, where like life kind of, takes kind of
Yeah.
hold, and it turns into one of those things where like every check-in, it sometimes there's not even check-ins going on.
It's
like,
just pictures
you know what I mean?
of me in the Swiss Alps and the beautiful mountains.
Which I still have. I still have.
They're
those pictures.
so I look at them like at least once a week because I miss it. But anyways,
Speaking of just weird check-in pictures, Mike, because my ADD just went up. I had this one client this one time. She was probably in her 40s. I helped her for probably like almost a year, but every time her check-in would come in, I would just dread it because it was so much unneeded detail. Did you follow your diet? Yes, but on Thursday, my first meal was at 7 a.m.
we all have those. We all have those.
Much unneeded shit. So I'm trying not to laugh, but like as soon as the summer started, she told me like she's gonna be down the shore and all this. Every Friday morning, I open her check-in and she sent me this shit at like 7 a.m. and her check-in photos were from a fucking boat in the middle of the ocean the whole summer from June to fucking Labor Day. And after like a month, I had to ask her. I'm
Kind
like,
of cool.
I'm
Good for
like,
her.
why are you sending me your check-ins on a boat? She's like, yeah, we just go on like the boat at like 5 a.m. and we don't get off till like 5 p.m., 6 p.m. And but like, I'm like, you think you can like send me because like there's no sun. It's fucking dark. And you just see this lady with this red bathing suit on, just standing there on the boat like this, like this. And the one time in the background, there was like bags of chips, Fritos, you saw salsa, frozen hamburgers, a little George Foreman. And I told her,
I don't know why I'm not losing weight.
I told her straight out, I'm like, I hope there's hope for you. Doesn't answer the email. And then the next week's check-in goes, yeah, so like last Friday, it was the weekend. I had like 4 burgers, chips, all this. And I'm like, that's why you didn't answer my goddamn email back. Like,
Yeah. I do. I have a client. We're totally off track now, and like now we're just wasting everybody's time.
My
including our own, but I
ADD
do.
made you go. Your ADD.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I have a client who literally it's not even checking in late. Like I mean early. She'll literally check in late, right? But like somehow her pictures like every other week are like literally in the fucking dark. To the point where I had to tell her recently, like, dude, you can't do this anymore. Like, I
Yeah.
can't see shit. Like I literally like look at this. I literally replied to one of the pictures. I'm like, I don't know where you're at in this picture. Like, I can't see you at all. Like, there's nothing here. Like, you're sending me this picture to check it. Like, it doesn't work. Like, we can't do this anymore.
I had a client who like she went on like a long vacation for like 2 weeks during our process, and she's like, I don't want to cancel, like it's just 2 weeks, whatever. So she sends me pictures. She went to Africa. And I'm like, ooh, she sends me pictures of like elephants, giraffes. I'm like, wait, keep them coming. I'm like, I like this.
It's crazy. That is cool.
I
though.
like it. No,
Did I
it's so
ever-
cool
did-
actually.
Before we go, did I ever tell you guys about the Dorito lady?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that like ratted herself out in third person and she was licking the chips. So every week for like a month straight on her check-in Marina, she would type a paragraph of like a storybook to me. And it was great because I actually looked forward to it because it was like this person, she was mentally ill, had to be. She had a free meal every week too in her plan, which was crazy. I would go into her comments and questions and it would start like, so I saw her in the middle of the night, wake up, open the pantry, take out the Cool Ranch Doritos, and she licked all the chips and then put the chips back in the bag. And she started telling me that she was doing this because it was the part of the chip that's not calories. But so I was like, hey, is somebody else filling your check-in form out? She was like, no, that was me. So I was like, why is it in third person? And she was like, I felt a little better like ratting myself out instead of coming clean. And I was like, this person's got like split personality. It's fucking crazy. like this is fucking psycho. So
Oh my god.
so she told me that like the powder.
Tim, I'm gonna
justified-
start checking it in third person.
I want Steve to do it with Johnny. I want a screenshot of the response where you're like, Johnny, I watched him eat the cheesesteak with the cheese dripping out every bite he took.
Yeah, and it's on my chest because he started eating it, put bare
And then it got all over
shirt
his-
on. And it's,
Oh
dude,
my
he
god.
would call me and be like, "Yo, what?
Are you okay?
Are you on? What did you smoke?"
Oh my god.
He would message Nina and be like, "I think this second child thing is getting to him."
Yeah, right.
It's-
Then he blew a fuse.
Oh my god.
That was so funny. I just didn't know what to say to this lady. And she just dropped off. I never heard from her again. They
Oh my
probably
god.
put her in a straitjacket somewhere.
Oh my god.
I was out.
Fucking crazy.
Oh god.
Man.
That's too funny.
All right.
Oh man, I'm crying.
Well, on that note, it is time for some dominoes
it sure
for
is.
everybody but Bernard.
And
It's time for my-
Bree, don't listen. I'm having
my-
pregnancy cravings. Bree.
Meal.
All right, are we going to sign off here, Marina?
Oh
or what?
yeah, I should sign off.
Yeah.
Okay.
You act like Tim and I do that.
Thanks everyone for listening. We'll catch you guys next week. Make sure to submit your questions. And if you don't send me questions, I'm blocking you from all of our accounts and you'll never be part of this cool club ever in your life again.